Hi everyone, thank you all for coming to the talk. The topic is a bit long. Finding a way to domain admin access, and even so, the game isn't over yet. Why we say the game isn't over yet is because getting domain access is just part of the game. Getting the juicy stuff from the network is the most important part. My name is Keith, that's my Twitter handle, and I'm working in class with Spiderless APEC, and I'm from Singapore. So this is about a tool that we developed because of things that we encountered during internet test. So this is our agenda. What is Portia? We go on to why for Portia and who is it for. The low-hanging fruits that Portia tries to tackle, the things in the lateral movement that it does, and the barriers it tries to overcome to get to the access. And then we go on to talking about some of the post-exploitation modules inside Portia. And this is my own most interesting part. But jumping from corporate network to automatically attacking semi-isolated network, whereas the network is not segmented, so you're able to Windows network where you don't have access to. So at Trustwave, we do a number of internal network penetration tests as part of our day-to-day. There are already a bunch of awesome tools out there for capturing and cracking credentials like Responder. If you haven't heard of it yet, it's good to check it out. So we want to fill the gap from cracking the credentials password hash that we capture for LMR or NetBIOS name service poisoning or WPAT implemented attack to compromising the entire domain, and then also to hunt and attack cutting edge codes that you do not have direct access to. So we also want to use the tool to help with the common issues that we as penetration testers face day to day. So we developed a tool called Portia to help with this. Portia aims to automate a number of techniques commonly performed on internet network penetration tests after a low privilege account has been captured and cracked. So it does things like privilege escalation, lateral movement, as well as there's a bunch of convenience modules which we will go on to talk about later. How we come about the name Portia? Portia is a genus of jumping spider that feeds on other spiders known for their intelligent hunting behavior and problem solving skills that is normally found in larger animals. It goes on, Portia is spider and we are from Spiderless, so that's why we use the name. So this is a basic workflow of how Portia works. So you have to supply the credentials that you get from somewhere else and you crack it. So when you feed it into the tool, it tries to check if it's a domain user account and it queries the domain server whether is it a domain admin account. So if it's a domain admin account, it's good because you can compromise the domain account automatically, but in normal cases, it's not true. So it goes on to look at other hosts, whether this account have admin access on other hosts or not. And then it does things like test credentials, dump hashes, as well as look for impersonation token belonging to domain admin account. Because once you find this impersonation token that belongs to domain admin account, you can elevate privileges to that of domain admin and compromise the domain controller. So as it goes on around the network to code the server and collect credentials, it will use these new credentials to attack other hosts that you have not been compromised yet, until all hosts have been compromised or until you run out of passwords. So this is a high level of things that Portia looks at. Of course, in the network, we want to get to owning the server as soon as possible, so we tackle the low-hanging fruit. Firstly, we look at the common Microsoft patches that can get us root on the box, like MS14068, MS17010, and MS48067. We will explain that later on. MS14066 requires user domain credentials at least. And then we also look at, Portia also looks at system volume, AES encrypted password hashes, password where you can decrypt it, as well as we also look at whether there are any MSSQL server that uses weak credentials. And the next thing we look at is how we can do a lateral and vertical movement in the network. So in some networks they use something called shared local restricted password. Once you get that, you can easily move laterally across the network to compromise others' hosts. The next thing we look at is impersonation token, which I covered earlier on, where they can elevate the privileges you get of the domain admin and compromise the domain controller. The other thing under lateral and vertical movement is W.ds credentials, which is clear text credentials that's in the memory. There are a bunch of things that prevent our pen test tools from working, like AMSI, AdBlocker, and antivirus. So we have to take this into consideration in the Portia and did some bypass and avoidance with some common scripts. And lastly, the last thing is network segmentation. Most networks are not flat, but if we get a flat network in the pen test, it's good for us because it's so easy to compromise the entire network. But most networks are segmented, so you normally need to go through a jump box or go through a VPN or some host in the network before you can get to the PCI network or the secure network. So let's start with the low-hanging fruit. SYSVOL contains credentials may be stored in group policy preferences items. Locations where the password credentials might be stored in the group policy include drive maps, local users and groups, scheduled tasks, services, as well as data sources. When a new group policy preferences item is created, the XML file is created in the SYSVOL folder, which contains AES encrypted password. Any authenticated domain user is able to access that file, so you don't need administrative access. So sometimes in network, the administrators tend to store local administrator passwords in them or even domain administrator passwords. So if you can access those files, you can move lateral along the network to compromise other hosts. The passwords are encrypted using a known AES 2-bit key. Why? Because Microsoft published it on MSDN years back. This is the AES 2-bit key. So with this key, you can encrypt any AES encoded password in the SYSVOL folder that you can find. Portia does this automatically to find passwords and decrypt them, and then use them to move laterally along the network if there's any. Okay, there is a patch, MS14025, that's released long time ago. I guess many of you have patched it. But then again, what the patch does is prevents you from creating new GPO items that rely on same password. However, it does not remove the old passwords inside your password if you have used them. So, have you actually removed the account or removed the disabled account, or have you checked whether does the SYSVOL folder still contain these valid accounts or not? If not, it's worth to check. The next thing we like to Portia exploit is MS14068, which is a vulnerability in the Windows Kerberos KDC. An attacker will be able to use an underprivileged domain user account and elevate the privileges to that of the domain administrator account. A privileged attribute certificate, a PAC, can be forged so that it can be accepted by the KDC as legitimate. So what an attacker can actually create a fake PAC that can claim that the regular user account you have provided is a member of the domain administrator group, and you can elevate a privilege. Okay, the other two things that Portia tends to exploit or scan is MS08067 and MS17010. MS08067 is a very pretty old. It's a buffer overflow vulnerability triggered by a specially crafted RPC request. It's old and mostly patched, but sometimes you can get you can get lucky on some networks. The next thing is MS17010 is released recently. All thanks to Shadow Focus and a creation group that we have this vulnerability. So the flaw is with how XMPV1 handles certain requests that can result in remote code execution. Next, we look at how video demo about how Portia exploit MS08067. Sorry. In this screenshot, it has how it checks firstly what it does is it needs to time sync between the PC server and your typical machine. And then it checks whether is it exploitable, and then it will run unit tests on the host to download test credentials followed by hashes, partial hashes. And then it does some analysis like saying what account, which hash is used by which account, and what password are used to compromise the host. So assuming there's no password in the SYSVOL folder, then MS14068 is not exploitable. So what's next? There's something called impersonation token. When a user logs into a system, a delegation token is created, which is converted to an impersonation token until the user logs out. The impersonation token has exactly the same rights as the delegation token. The delegation token and the impersonation token, once created, remains on the system until the system is rebooted. So what happens is, if a domain admin happens to log into a system, and then attackers gets in at the same time, he is able to run minikast to dump the clear test credentials belonging to that domain admin. And can use that impersonation token to dump credentials on the domain controller. This is a screenshot of what it looks like when Portia runs. So the account that is supplied is not part of the domain admin group, and then it needs a list of tokens on the server. And then it finds that, hey, we have a domain admin token. And then it attempts to elevate the privileges and exploit, run weekends on the domain controller. This is a demo of what happened. You see, but it's the same like what I have explained earlier about finding the token and compromising the domain controller through another host in the network. And then it tells you what accounts are used to exploit which machine. If no impersonation token is found, Portia runs minikast as well as down the password hashes. So if there's any new password hashes that you found, you add to this database and they will start the process again and attack other machines in the network. So the process will only complete when all the new passwords have been tested against every single host or until there's no password to try. There's this other thing called shared local administrator password. So IT managers generally use a default operating system image where the software gets installed and so that they roll it out to the users. The OS is normally configured with the default password. So in order for the administrators to support the workstation and server, it's probably easier for them to use a generic a default local administrator password. From an authentic point of view, you can exploit this to move laterally in the network. So once you compromise one host, and then you can use the same local administrator password to compromise other hosts in the network. Portia detects if multiple systems are using the same local administrator password so they can move laterally. So there could be some machines where in the workgroup mode domain membership, but you could be using the same local administrator password. So yeah. Let's talk about the protections that modern OS have in place to prevent pen tester or hacker tools from working. First of all is the AMSI, the anti-malware scan interface. It's designed to block and prevent script attacks. It implements a number of security checks. It provides file, memory, and stream scanning, condensed source, URL, IP replication checks, and other techniques. Includes additional calls for script that use obfuscated or layered dynamic code evaluation. Portia currently runs two of these techniques to bypass AMSI. So the first technique that is used is the most easiest. If .NET version 2.0 something is installed, you can force the use of PowerShell 2.0 using the version option. So PowerShell version 2 doesn't actually support AMSI, so you can bypass the AMSI if the system has supports PowerShell version 2. So Portia actually automatically checks the appropriate version and forces the use of PowerShell version 2 is supported. The technique number 2 that's been used is to unload AMSI from the current process. This technique was created by Matt, and it's just a single one-liner that you can use in PowerShell to unload the AMSI from the current process, and actually doesn't require elevated privileges. Next, we look at app locker bypass, which is application whitelisting, where sometimes administrator lockdown the system and prevent PowerShell from running. So it can really, there's lots of techniques out there to bypass AppLocker, but currently we include 3 and we're planning expanding on it. First of all is weak path rule, second is MSBuild.exe, and third is CScriptShell. The first one, weak path rule. So it actually exploits weak folder permissions. By default, Windows allows read and write to any of the following folders: C drive, Windows Task, C drive, Windows 10, C drive, Windows Tracing. Any binary that you put in these folders are able to execute, and it will not be blocked by AppLocker, even though you block, let's say you block PowerShell, but you can still copy PowerShell to it. So Portia actually currently loads into the loads in any of these folders. The next one is MSBuild.exe. So how this works is it injects code into signed Microsoft binaries and will execute without being picked up by the device card or AppLocker. MSBuild.exe allows for inline tasks which can be used to compile and execute code in the memory on the target. This can be used to execute arbitrary code on the target. So you can use this to bypass Portia and run Impersonation with dump credentials or dump hashes from the Windows system. The last one, AppLocker bypass, is incorporated in the CScriptShell. CScriptShell is a tool that commonly included in .NET that allows you to bypass application whitelisting and PowerShell restriction. Normally, this tool is not blocked by default, so if they just enable whitelisting and you just go into optimizing the details, you might be able to use this technique. So it's developed by CN33LIZ, and it uses a technique developed by Subkey that allows you to run .NET script, .NET code inside PowerShell script and VB script. So, inside VB script. So if you have not heard of Subkey, you should follow him on Twitter because he does lots of cool things about bypassing stuff and protection from Windows. So how about antivirus? We need, when we run tools like Invoke-Mimikatz or any fantasy tool, you'll be cached by the antivirus. So we need to obfuscate the code to bypass the antivirus. There's this awesome tools created by Daniel O'Hanlon that creates this tool called Invoke-Obfuscation. So Invoke-Obfuscation is a PowerShell script that provides obfuscation for other PowerShell scripts, and it can assist with some AV bypass. Next, we'd like to talk about Invoke reflection key injection. So what is this Invoke reflection key injection? What we realize is that when you use the PowerShell script Invoke-Mimikatz on some modern system, it can't dump the credentials. The issue is that it's actually running an outdated version of Mimikatz. So by using Invoke key injection script, we can embed the latest version of Mimikatz and run in the memory of the target host so that it can run on modern system. These are some of the current host modules in Mimikatz. In Portia. Like it search for pen numbers, card number in the list of memory, because normally, card numbers are all the juicy data, so that's what I'm interested in. You also dump browser credentials like Chrome and Firefox. You also find interesting data on the system like FileZilla password, any file that contains password, namely or cspread file. You also find dump password from the registry key that could, like things like VNC or VLOG credentials. You also dump things like TrueCrypt master key. So if TrueCrypt is open and running a system, it's able to detect it and dump the TrueCrypt master key, so you can use it to decrypt the disk offline. And then you also find PII data which is more useful for US people, person. And then it also scans for common Microsoft boundary like MS17010 and MS08067. It does automatic pwnage of the MSSQL server, so it tries to brute force the account, it dumps hashes, and it also finds interesting data on the database like card data or password. So you don't have to do anything, just run a command against it. It tries to emit routes and look for routes to the JSON network or other segmented network that you do not have access to. If key pass is running on the machine, it also dumps the credentials. If BitLocker is enforced on the system, it dumps the keys as well. And other things it does is, if you like have the last thing is find right credentials to access shares and folders. I'll talk about it in the next slide. So what we have here is sometimes in the network, we find some folder that says finance, card data, or password. So how do we get access to it? Sometimes the password that we have, the account credential that we have, is an admin account, but it doesn't have access to the folder because probably the group membership requires you to be part of like finance group or HR group or something like that. So what this does is you supply the password and then it tries to, so the account might not have access to the shares, right? So it runs Mimikatz to dump more credentials from the memory of the system. It uses these credentials and tests it with the folder, and then see which folder has access, which account has access to which folder. So and then you can then use the password to log into the folder and then extract the sensitive data. It just makes things simpler for pen tester. The next thing is automatically compromising MSSQL. It's video, but we just want to add it to the mix so that it's easy for pen test to get from 0 to domain admin. So it actually looks for weak password in the SA account. If it is successful, it enables the XP CMD shell and add a local admin account box. It does hashes, does SQL, and then look for interesting data in the database. So you don't have to go through each of the table to find the data. This is just a screenshot of like the tool you can run. So on this MSSQL server, there's AppLocker is PowerShell is blocked by the AppLocker. So you can see that it tries to use one of the AppLocker bypass technique to run Mimikatz on the whole, and then it's able to dump the hashes and password from the system and compromise the MSSQL server. At the bottom, you can see that it found some card data. So it actually does some checks to make sure that it matches the algorithm for card data, and then it also puts out any interesting field and puts passwords. Next is, in this screenshot, it tries to find interesting data on the system, like key-based file, file containing password, DNC, INI file, and then it downloads this file onto the affected machine where you can do it offline. It also automatically encrypts the password hashes. Another thing it does is to dump the browser credentials. So first it checks whether you are running Firefox or Chrome and the process is running. It checks whether what is the currently logged on user, because for this thing to work you need to run a task in the user section. So and then it checks whether we have a user password or hash belong to the user or not. If we don't, then we can run Mimikatz to dump our credentials and try to find a matching account so that we can run a PowerShell script in the user section to dump the credentials to a file. This is because of some protection in place in Chrome and Firefox that allows you to access the password only when you are logging on as a user. Okay, so this is a demo of it running, dumping the password. So it finds that Firefox is running on the system and it finds a Google password. Yeah. So the next thing we're interested in is pen or card data on the disk and memory. So Portia used modified versions of these scripts so as to work easier. So it makes the list of in-stock programs on the host where we have any access on, and then it makes the process, and then provides a table to show which process and programs are running on which machine and which processes are common against different hosts. So this allows an attacker to find which are the processes that are interesting, and then you can dump and search for pen numbers in the memory. It also does basic analysis on hashes like blank hash or which accounts are using the same password and so on. It also does an analysis to tell you which account is using the same password. Normally, administrators give the same password to users and they do not change the password. So it's important to flag that during the pen test. Okay, this is just a Google demo of showing how Portia runs, where there is one domain controller, one server in the domain membership, and one server in the workgroup membership. But they have some shared local admission, password, and so on. So in this demo, you have access to one of the server, but do not have access to the domain controller. So you will try to navigate and automatically compromise all the hosts in the network. So we see a scan of network, we found there are 3 hosts. We have access, any access on one default. The other machine do not have any access. And then we dump the clear text credentials from the first box where we have any access on. And then we dump the hashes next. So all this is just automatic, so you just need to compromise. You just need to crack or capture and crack credentials and supply to Portia. And it automates navigates along the network to compromise all hosts. And then next is trying to see whether is there any domain admin token or any other boxes. So as you can see here, we found a domain admin token, and now it's trying to elevate the relationships to that of the domain controller to compromise the domain controller. As there is, so it's done on hashes from the domain controller. As there is, we are using the shared local admission password between the server in the workstation and the domain membership, so it's able to compromise the other server as well. Next, we talked about the more interesting part: how do we jump from corporate to semi-isolated network and segmented network, where you can see here from the bottom, the attacker does not have access to the server, but in some organizations they use something called a jump box. So the attacker, the attack administrator could be using the box for a VPN to access the secure data center. So how do we attack that host in the network, in the PCI network that we do not have access to? So firstly, of course you have to supply it with a list of target IP or IP range. So it scans the corporate network that you have access to, whether which IPs are directly accessible, and then it has the credentials and logs into those the jump box. It could be a jump box, it could be other host, and then from that host, it runs JavaScript to scan the other interface to see whether are there any IPs in the provided target IP range that you do not, the attacker do not have access to, but the jump box have access to. So, and then it will set up a relay between the jump box and the target server, which is probably in the PCI network. And then through this relay, you can automatically compromise the hashes and passwords from on the server in the secure network. So this is just a screenshot of what happens when you do a demo, show a demo later. So there's like first two IPs. The first IP we do not have access to, we can't ping it. The second IP we can ping it, so we have direct access to. So it's easy to compromise the first box, but normally it takes quite a while to find a route and to jump to the next to the box in the secure network. So in this screenshot, we're able to compromise the first box, down the hashes, down the password, and then we use this password and hashes and then to attack other hosts. So once we got into the jump box, we try to scan what other IPs are available from their host and what we can see. So we realize that there's one other box that's available, that's visible to the jump box, but not to us. And then we test the credentials against the jump box, against the host in the data center network. And then because some of the servers in the data center network do not have access to the internet, so we have to actually set up a web server on the jump box so that it can access those files from them. So through this relay and the web server is able to compromise the server in the secure data center. And then we will list down the hashes, down the password, and so on. This is just a so-called prototype of script that we got out. So we try to enhance it into things like saying that you can run other post exploitation module other than just getting the passwords and so on. It also flags some things like some hosts in the data center network do not have port 445 open, they only have RDP open. So it does tell you whether RDP access is allowed, and so on. It doesn't currently attack RDP, but in future it might. And using this technique, actually we can hide our traffic. In future, we can hide our traffic because we are not attacking directly the machine, but we are attacking through the jump box. So currently only does one hop, but in future it can do not. We plan to do multiple hop. If your network is segmented well and has 2 or 3 layers, you should be able to do it. So this is a demo of it running. So the first IP, it tries to ping, it does not have access to it. The second IP, it can ping and have access to it. So it runs the tool. And then it has admin access on the first port. It does the password, it does the hashes, and then it collects this hashes and password and attempts to scan whether the jump box have access to other network that I do not have visibility. So it found that there's another 2 SMB 2 Windows boxes that's visible to the entire to the jump box. The first password is invalid. So luckily for us, we found the credentials that allowed us to access the box in the data center. And then we set up a relay from the jump box to the server. And then dump the hashes and password from the. So by doing this method, you can actually compromise networks that's not flat but segmented. In future, we plan to add things like data exfiltration modules like DNS and stuff. Include more database module support like Postgres, SQL, or Oracle, and build in Docker image so that it's easier to run because there's a couple of dependencies to install before you can run Portia. The tool is currently available under the URL. The slides for this is available here as well. So the videos are also available online on the YouTube page. So you can check it out if you are interested. Or if you have any features that you want us to incorporate or things that you can add in, we will. So send me a message and so on. I'll be happy to add them. Thank you.